Hello and welcome back to Rock Review. There are many people out there who are a lot younger than me who are saying to me, how do we approach this group Pink Floyd? We know it's a wonderful group, but where do you start? You guys were there and you know where the best albums are and the bits that you love, but we're confronted with a whole mass of records. Where do we start this journey? I think in real terms there are 6 albums that for me sum up Pink Floyd and represent the real halcyon years. And interestingly, those halcyon years are the years between 1970 and 1979. So without further ado, in reverse order, I would say start with The Wall. Obviously it had the huge international hit, Another Brick in the Wall. But there's also Comfortably Numb, which is for many the Pink Floyd album, and tracks like Run Like Hell. It's probably too long as a double album. It probably doesn't sustain the quality of writing. It would have probably been one of the best ever single albums. It's still a great double album. But start with that and go to Comfortably Numb, and it'll give you a sense of just what this group can achieve. Next, of course, is the famous Dark Side of the Moon. This is one of the greatest albums of all time, and for many it's the finest Pink Floyd album. For me, it's a really great album. It's an interesting album. If you've listened to The Wall and you've listened to Dark Side of the Moon, by now you're on the journey. You've had, in my opinion, the 6th and the 5th best rated albums. Next up is a curious album from 1977 called Animals. This is very much a Roger Waters polemic. He's angry about the music business and he's angry about the way that they are treated as artists, and it comes over as very much a cohesive argument. It's not necessarily one you would agree with, where very rich men are angry about how they're treated by the world. But musically, I think it works. It's very well composed in the sense that it fits together. Everything ties together on this album almost like no other Pink Floyd album. It's once you're on the journey, once you've seen The Wall, once you've had Dark Side, you come to Animals. I think that's when you begin to realise this group is really special. So you're beginning to see the quality of the writing, the quality of the performance, the thought that goes into it, the attempt to use lyrics as more than simply a celebration of a search for the mate, which all too many groups do. So we've had those 3 albums. We're beginning to really get a feel for Pink Floyd. We then have one of my real favourites, Meddle. Meddle to me is where the group really began to shine as composers. The whole of side 2 of the album is taken up with a track called Echoes. Echoes for me is one of their finest moments. You've got some lovely vocals between Rick Wright and David Gilmour. It's a circular composition. It takes the listener on a journey. It's a wonderful piece. They actually reintroduced it to the live set when they began to perform again, only for a few shows, and we were fortunate enough to hear it performed live. So pick up that album. The interesting introduction is One of These Days, of course, an instrumental that really flies along and has so much aspiration to be different and to try different things. And I think that's one of the things that people really like about Pink Floyd. Here we are, we're trying things. The rest of side 1 doesn't succeed as well as One of These Days and Echoes. But for those 2 tracks alone, I think this album is a world beater. And is once you're on the Pink Floyd journey, once you've discovered just how good this band can be, this is the album to go to next. Number 2 in my personal chart is an album which I know from experience that people like Roger Waters and David Gilmour dismiss. They say this is something which Roger Waters describes as an embarrassment. At the time, however, it was the first Pink Floyd #1. The reason for that is the Atom Heart Mother Suite, which takes up the whole of side 1, which was an attempt to introduce an avant-garde feel to their music. It was a joint cooperation with an artist that we worked with called Ron Deason. So Ron was half of the partnership. I think he should have got more credit than he did. It was branded as solely a Pink Floyd album, but this is the album that gave them their first #1. I think it's very disappointing that the band have so much, the ex-members of the band and the current members, if there is such a thing, have so much disdain for this piece. I think if you come to it with an open mind, as a product of its time, an attempt to make an interesting journey through melodic music, interspersed with some discordant music, the use of a choir, the use of orchestral instruments, it's actually a wonderful work, and I think it deserves its place at #2. Once you've discovered all the things that Pink Floyd are capable of, then you can really embrace Atom Heart Mother and just enjoy it as a piece. It's adventurous, it's witty, it's a stunning piece of work. I know Roger's going to disagree, but we all bought it in our droves. We have loved it for 30-40 years. Once you've discovered who Pink Floyd are, I think you will love this album. The other thing, of course, on side 2 is Fat Old Sun, which is a beautiful Pink Floyd triumph, really. I think it's a great song. So where do we go? Where is our #1? #1, of course, is Wish You Were Here. The great late Rick Wright reckoned this was the best Pink Floyd album. I'm with Rick on this. Shine On You Crazy Diamond is an astonishing work in the Western musical canon. It's up there with every one of the great compositions. There was a great debate and a great deal of argument within the group as to how this should be presented. Should Shine On You Crazy Diamond be presented as a single suite of music, or should it, as eventually happened, bookend the album? So we have part 1 to 9 at the start and the rest at the end. So we open and close with the Shine On You Crazy Diamond suite. When we were asked to do this as an orchestral piece, we took the decision to rejoin those two ends, and I think it works. And for me, if they had made those two a single suite, as there was a debate within the band, I think this would have been the greatest album of all time. It may be anyway. So once you've been through the journey, listen to this record and you'll realise just why Pink Floyd are sublime musicians, composers, arrangers and lyricists. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. See you next time.